The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the small town of Ashland, Oregon. I stood at the window of our rented cabin, watching as families strolled by, their laughter mingling with the sound of rustling leaves. This vacation was supposed to be a break from the monotony of my life, a chance to reconnect with my husband, Tom. But as I sipped my coffee, I felt an unsettling emptiness gnawing at me. Tom had been busy with work lately, consumed by projects and deadlines. Our conversations had dwindled to logistics, grocery lists and schedules, leaving little room for intimacy or connection. I longed for something more than this routine existence. The vibrant farmers' market nearby promised fresh produce and local crafts, but it also whispered of possibilities beyond the ordinary. As we made our way to a quaint cafe on Main Street that morning, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this trip was more than just a getaway. It felt like an escape from my own life, a chance to rediscover parts of myself that had long been overshadowed by responsibility and expectation. We settled into a corner table at the cafe, surrounded by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods. Tom scrolled through his phone while I stared out the window, my mind drifting to thoughts of what could have been. That's when I saw him, Michael, Tom's boss, walking past with a confident stride. My heart skipped a beat. He looked different outside of work attire, relaxed yet composed. "Isn't that Michael?" I asked Tom, nodding toward him. "Yeah," he replied absent-mindedly without looking up from his screen. I felt an unexpected rush of excitement mixed with anxiety as Michael entered the cafe and ordered a coffee. Our eyes met briefly before he turned away. There was something magnetic about that moment. After he received his drink, he glanced around and spotted me sitting there alone. "Mind if I join you?" he asked with an easy smile that made my heart race. "Sure," I replied softly, surprised at how quickly my pulse quickened. Tom barely acknowledged us as he continued scrolling through his phone. Michael settled into the chair across from me, his presence commanding yet inviting. We exchanged pleasantries while sipping our coffees. Each word seemed to peel away layers of formality between us. "So how's your vacation going?" he asked, genuinely interested. "It's nice," I said hesitantly. "Just trying to escape reality for a bit." He nodded knowingly, his eyes searching mine as if probing deeper into my unspoken thoughts. "Sometimes we all need that," he said thoughtfully. A moment passed where time felt suspended between us, a shared understanding blossoming in the quiet space around us. My mind raced with questions about what lay beneath this unexpected connection. It felt like stepping into uncharted territory. As we chatted about local attractions and favorite spots in town, laughter bubbled up between us effortlessly. The tension in my chest loosened slightly as we found common ground in our love for art and nature. His enthusiasm was contagious. It reminded me of who I used to be before life became so predictable. But just as quickly as it began, our conversation shifted back toward reality when Tom finally looked up from his phone and interrupted us with a distracted comment about lunch plans. I felt an ache in my chest as Michael stood to leave after finishing his coffee. "It was great talking with you," he said warmly, lingering for just a moment longer than necessary before turning away. "Yeah, you too," I managed to say as I watched him walk out of the cafe. The moment hung heavy in the air between Tom and me as we left shortly after. The vibrant colors of Ashland's streets blurred together as thoughts swirled in my mind, questions about what this encounter meant for me and whether it would lead anywhere beyond this fleeting moment. Later that afternoon at the farmers' market, surrounded by stalls bursting with fresh fruits and handmade crafts, I tried to focus on picking out ripe peaches for dessert but found myself distracted by memories of Michael's laughter echoing in my ears. Each stall brought reminders of our conversation, the way he listened intently when I spoke or how his eyes sparkled when discussing art galleries nearby. "What do you think?" Tom asked abruptly as he held up 2 jars of local jam for me to choose from. "They both look good," I replied absent-mindedly while scanning the crowd for any sign of Michael among vendors calling out their wares. Tom frowned slightly but didn't press further, perhaps sensing something was off but unwilling to confront it directly. Meanwhile, anticipation coursed through me like electricity at every turn. I wondered if fate would intervene again today or if this would remain just another ordinary outing overshadowed by unfulfilled desires. As we wandered deeper into the market's vibrant chaos, the sounds mingling with scents wafting through stalls, I spotted him again standing near a booth filled with handmade pottery. My heart raced at seeing him once more, this time alone without any distractions around us. "Michael!" I called out impulsively before realizing how forward it sounded even to myself. He turned toward me with surprise etched across his features before breaking into a smile that lit up his face like sunshine breaking through clouds on an overcast day. "Fancy meeting you here," he said casually yet warmly despite being surrounded by bustling shoppers moving past us without pause or regard for our encounter unfolding amid their haste. "I could say the same," I replied nervously but couldn't help smiling back at him. It felt natural somehow amidst all these unfamiliar emotions swirling within me since earlier today over coffee together at that cafe where everything began shifting imperceptibly beneath surface-level interactions between strangers suddenly drawn together against all odds under ordinary circumstances transformed extraordinary moments shared between two souls seeking solace outside their respective lives bound by invisible chains forged over time spent apart from themselves while navigating responsibilities weighing heavily upon them both day after day without respite until now. We fell easily into conversation again amid laughter shared over silly anecdotes exchanged between bites taken from freshly baked pastries available nearby while enjoying sunshine filtering down overhead illuminating everything around us creating warmth. Filling spaces once cold empty voids longing desperately filled only moments past since last encounter left lingering echoes behind still resonating deep within heart's yearning connection lost somewhere a long way forgotten until now reignited. Flames flickering brightly reminding each other why they ever mattered so much once upon time long ago lost sight amidst mundane routines taken granted too easily lost track amidst daily grind forgetting simple joys found within small things surrounding them every single day until then. But then reality intruded once more when Tom approached us looking puzzled, his expression shifting instantly upon seeing Michael standing next to me laughing animatedly sharing stories effortlessly weaving threads connecting past present future together seamlessly creating tapestry woven tightly binding lives forever changed forever. Altered paths crossed unexpectedly altering trajectories leading somewhere unknown yet promising adventure ahead waiting patiently just beyond horizon beckoning. Softly urging step forward daring leap faith trusting instincts guiding way towards something beautiful waiting patiently just beyond reach yet tantalizingly close enough feel warmth radiating outward inviting exploration discovery unveiling hidden truths long buried beneath layers accumulated over years spent living lives half lived never fully embraced until now. And suddenly everything shifted again leaving lingering uncertainty hanging thick air surrounding us both heavy-laden choices made weighed heavily hearts burdened decisions looming overhead casting shadows darkening skies threatening rainstorm brewing just outside unseen. Waiting patiently ready unleash fury upon unsuspecting souls caught unaware trapped within confines own making unable break free shackles binding them tightly together holding fast preventing movement forward daring risk take. Leap unknown embracing possibility despite fear lurking close behind whispering doubts echoing loudly warning against folly pursuing dreams long abandoned forgotten. But here we were standing side by side sharing moments fleeting yet profound filled laughter lightness joy intertwined woven intricately together forming bonds forged anew amidst chaos swirling all around threatening pull apart unravel threads connecting lives. Intertwined forever changed forever altered paths crossed unexpectedly altering trajectories leading somewhere unknown yet promising adventure ahead waiting patiently just beyond horizon beckoning softly urging step forward daring leap. faith trusting instincts guiding way towards something beautiful waiting patiently just beyond reach, tantalizingly close enough, feel warmth radiating outward, inviting exploration, discovery, unveiling hidden truths long buried beneath layers accumulated over years spent, living lives half-lived, never fully embraced until now. The sun hung low in the sky as we made our way to the farmer's market, the vibrant colors of fresh produce and flowers enveloping us like a warm embrace. I could feel my heart racing, not just from the excitement of being out in the open air, but from the proximity of my husband's boss, Mark. He walked beside me, casually pointing out various stalls with a lightness that felt refreshing. "Have you tried these peaches?" he asked, picking one up and turning it over in his hands. "They're supposed to be the best of the season." I shook my head, smiling at his enthusiasm. "No, I haven't. I usually stick to what I know, apples and berries." "Let's change that today," he said with a grin, handing me the peach. Our fingers brushed against each other for just a moment longer than necessary. My stomach fluttered at the contact. As we wandered through the market, laughter bubbled between us like a gentle stream. We shared stories about our favorite recipes and childhood memories tied to food. Each shared laugh felt like a thread weaving us closer together, pulling me away from thoughts of my husband and our stagnant marriage. "Look at those tomatoes!" Mark exclaimed suddenly, pointing toward a stall overflowing with ripe red fruit. "We should get some for a salad tonight." "Sounds perfect," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the thrill coursing through me. The idea of cooking together felt intimate and inviting. We approached the vendor, and as Mark chatted her up about heirloom varieties, I found myself watching him closely. His hands moved animatedly as he spoke. There was an energy about him that was magnetic. It struck me how easy it was to forget my reality when he was around. After purchasing tomatoes and some fresh basil, we wandered toward a quieter corner of the market where people were fewer and shaded by large trees. The air felt different here, more relaxed, and I could sense that something unspoken hung between us. "Isn't this nice?" he asked, leaning against a tree trunk casually. "Just taking a break from everything." I nodded slowly, feeling both exhilarated and terrified by how comfortable this felt. "It is nice, really nice." Mark turned to face me fully now. His expression shifted slightly as if he were weighing something important in his mind. "You know," he began hesitantly, "I've always thought you had an interesting perspective on things." My cheeks warmed under his gaze. It was as if he saw right through me, the layers of doubt and dissatisfaction that clung to my life like shadows. "Thank you," I managed to say softly. "You're not like most people," he continued thoughtfully. "You seem more alive." His words wrapped around me like a soft blanket on a chilly evening. They made me feel seen in ways I hadn't experienced in years. Just then, laughter erupted from nearby children chasing each other with balloons, a reminder of innocence that felt far removed from my own life. Mark took a step closer. Suddenly everything felt charged with possibility. The air thickened around us as if time had slowed down just for this moment. We kissed, came out before I even realized what was happening. The words hung heavy between us after they slipped past my lips. He paused for an instant before leaning in slightly closer still. There was no turning back now. My breath quickened as our faces drew nearer, his warmth beckoning me forward into uncharted territory. But then reality crashed back into focus. My husband's face flashed before my eyes, tired but loving, blind to all that simmered beneath our surface. "Maybe we should," I started but faltered as doubt crept back into view. Mark stepped back slightly but didn't break eye contact. Instead, there was an understanding written across his features, a recognition of what we both desired yet feared simultaneously. "I know this is complicated," he said quietly after what felt like an eternity stretched between us, filled only by distant sounds of market chatter. "Yes," I murmured reluctantly as uncertainty gripped at my heart once more. He nodded slowly as if contemplating his next move carefully while still holding space for whatever might unfold next between us. This strange connection swirling around us amidst bustling activity outside our little bubble formed beneath those leafy branches overhead. As we resumed wandering through stalls filled with colorful produce and handmade goods surrounding us again soon after sharing that moment together, what would it mean moving forward? Would it lead somewhere or simply fade away like so many other fleeting moments lost over time? The market began to close down around us slowly. Vendors started packing up their wares while families drifted toward parking lots carrying bags filled with treasures gathered throughout their time spent here today enjoying good food alongside loved ones, their laughter ringing out into evening air laced with nostalgia lingering sweetly behind them. But here stood Mark beside me still, an unexpected companion who had ignited sparks within long buried deep inside myself yearning for something more than just routine day-to-day existence devoid passion or excitement lingering far beyond reach until today when chance encounter changed everything, forever altering paths leading somewhere unknown yet promising adventure ahead waiting patiently just beyond horizon beckoning softly urging step forward daring leap faith trusting instincts guiding way. Towards something beautiful waiting patiently just beyond reach tantalizingly close enough feel warmth radiating outward inviting exploration discovery unveiling hidden truths long buried beneath layers accumulated over years spent living lives half-lived, never fully embraced until now. As twilight descended upon Oregon's small-town landscape painted hues orange pink purple blending seamlessly together creating breathtaking backdrop behind us, I couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. The sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the park as Mark and I found a quiet spot overlooking the river. The world around us faded into a soft murmur, the laughter of children playing and the distant chatter of couples enjoying their evenings blending into an indistinct hum. This moment felt suspended in time, as if we were the only two people in existence. I had spent so long feeling invisible within my own life, trapped in a routine that left little room for joy or excitement. But here, with Mark, everything was different. He listened intently as I spoke about my dreams and fears, things I hadn't shared with anyone in years. The honesty between us felt refreshing, like a breath of fresh air after being submerged for too long. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like to just leave everything behind?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun kissed the water. "Every day," I admitted, surprised by my own candor. "I think about it more now than ever." He turned to me, his expression serious yet gentle. "You deserve to find happiness, whatever that looks like for you." Those words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. I could feel my heart racing as our conversation took on a deeper tone. There was an unspoken understanding that we were both seeking something beyond our current lives, a connection that transcended mere attraction. As twilight wrapped around us like a comforting blanket, we shared stories of our pasts, his childhood in a bustling city and my small-town upbringing filled with simplicity. Each revelation drew us closer together until silence fell upon us once more. In that stillness, I felt an urge to bridge the gap between us physically. Our eyes locked, and suddenly it didn't matter what lay outside this moment, all that existed was him and me. Our lips met softly at first, testing the waters of this new territory we had ventured into together. It was electric, a spark igniting something deep within me that had been dormant for far too long. "I shouldn't be doing this," I whispered against his mouth as we pulled apart slightly. "Why not?" he countered gently. "We're both adults making choices." The weight of his words settled over me like a thick fog. My mind raced through all the implications, the guilt that would surely follow this moment of weakness, the betrayal towards my husband who remained oblivious to my internal struggles. Yet there was also exhilaration coursing through me, a sense of freedom that made me feel alive again. For years, I had suppressed these desires out of obligation and fear. But here with Mark, those chains began to loosen. "I don't want to hurt anyone," I said quietly. He nodded slowly but didn't pull away from my side. "Neither do I," he replied softly before adding with a hint of vulnerability in his voice, "But sometimes you have to take risks to find clarity." His words resonated within me as we sat there watching the sky darken into shades of indigo dotted with stars beginning to twinkle above us. It struck me how beautiful yet fleeting this moment was, like all things in life, and how quickly it could slip away if not grasped tightly enough. As night enveloped us completely, my thoughts drifted toward what would happen next. Would this connection lead somewhere meaningful? Or would it fizzle out like so many moments before? The uncertainty hung heavily between us as we lingered there under starlight. A sudden breeze swept through the park carrying whispers of change. Perhaps it was simply nature's way of reminding me that nothing remains static forever. Not love nor heartache nor even moments such as these filled with promise yet fraught with perilous consequences looming just beyond reach waiting patiently for their turn. With each passing second spent beside him deepened my internal conflict. Every laugh shared felt bittersweet knowing how fragile our newfound bond truly was. As if sensing my turmoil, Mark shifted slightly closer again, his warmth radiating against mine igniting feelings long buried beneath layers accumulated over years spent living lives half-lived never fully embraced until now. "Maybe we should go back," he suggested after some time passed silently between us, his voice steady despite its underlying tension reflecting similar fears mirrored within myself, fears tied tightly around heartstrings woven intricately throughout every aspect life held dear. "Yeah," I agreed reluctantly but couldn't shake off lingering doubts swirling within. The walk back felt longer than it should have been, each step weighed down by unspoken words left hanging heavily in air surrounding us both while shadows danced playfully beneath streetlights flickering overhead illuminating paths leading homeward. Arriving at my car parked near entrance gate brought forth another wave uncertainty crashing against shore's hopefulness built up during our time together earlier fading slowly away. "I'll see you tomorrow," he asked tentatively breaking silence enveloping us once more pulling me back reality where choices awaited reckoning soon enough. "Of course." My reply came out softer than intended laced with hesitation reflecting fears lurking just beneath surface waiting patiently ready strike when least expected. As he walked away disappearing into night's embrace leaving behind echoes laughter still ringing sweetly inside head, I couldn't help but wonder whether this fleeting connection would lead somewhere meaningful or simply dissolve into memory lost amidst everyday life swallowed whole by responsibilities looming large ahead threatening reclaim spaces occupied by joy previously discovered anew. I sat there for a moment longer contemplating everything unfolding around me. The beauty mingled intricately alongside complexities woven throughout relationships formed over years shaped by choices made along way leading ultimately toward crossroads faced now forcing reevaluation priorities set forth guiding journey ahead. The morning light seeped through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I lay there, tangled in sheets, the remnants of last night still swirling in my mind. We spent the night together, and the warmth of his presence lingered like a sweet perfume that refused to fade. Yet, with each passing moment, reality crept back in, reminding me of the life waiting outside this cocoon. He stirred beside me, his eyes fluttering open. There was an intimacy in that gaze, one that felt both thrilling and terrifying. "Good morning," he said softly, his voice still husky from sleep. I could see a hint of vulnerability beneath his confident exterior, a man grappling with his own uncertainties. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile despite the weight pressing down on my chest. The air was thick with unspoken words and questions that loomed larger than ever before. What did this mean for us? What would happen when we returned to our lives? As we shared breakfast, simple toast and fruit, I couldn't shake off the feeling of impending loss. He spoke about his plans for the future, mentioning projects at work and potential opportunities elsewhere. Each word felt like a countdown to an inevitable farewell. "Are you excited about your new role?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. He shrugged slightly, glancing down at his plate. "I suppose so. But it's hard to think about leaving, especially now." His eyes met mine again, and I understood what he meant without needing further explanation. We finished eating in silence, each lost in thought as I pondered how easily everything could slip away from me, the joy we had found together overshadowed by the reality of my life back home. The thought of returning to my husband felt suffocating. It was as if I were standing at the edge of a precipice with no clear way forward. After breakfast, we decided to take a walk around the small town where we had spent our vacation days together. The streets were quiet in the early morning light, but there was an air of vibrancy lingering from last night's festivities at the local festival. Vendors were setting up stalls for another day at the farmers' market, a place filled with colors and scents that had once brought me joy but now felt tainted by my inner turmoil. As we strolled hand in hand through familiar paths, I caught glimpses of couples laughing together, reminders of what I had left behind and what might never be again. "Do you think you'll miss this place?" I asked him suddenly. "Maybe," he replied thoughtfully. "But I think it's more about what it represents." He paused as if weighing his words carefully before continuing. "It feels like freedom." His answer struck a chord within me. Freedom was something I craved desperately but rarely experienced in my own life. My marriage had become a series of obligations rather than shared joys or passions, a routine that left little room for exploration or self-discovery. A vendor caught my eye as we approached a stall overflowing with fresh produce, ripe tomatoes glistening under sunlight and fragrant herbs wafting through the air. "Let's grab something for later," I suggested impulsively. He nodded enthusiastically as we wandered closer to inspect various fruits and vegetables. Our playful banter made it easy to forget everything else for just a moment. Laughter bubbled up between us like champagne fizzing over its glass. But then came the moment that shifted everything once more. An elderly woman approached us with a basket filled with vibrant flowers. "You two look so happy," she remarked with a warm smile that seemed genuine yet somehow piercing. I exchanged glances with him. There was an undeniable truth in her observation that left me feeling exposed. How could we look so happy when uncertainty loomed over our heads? "Thank you," he said politely while I forced out another smile, one that felt increasingly strained as dread settled deeper into my bones. Our hands brushed against each other as we selected some tomatoes and basil from another stall, an unintentional reminder of how intertwined our lives had become during this brief escape from reality. Once we finished shopping, he suggested heading back to our accommodations before checking out some local sites nearby. A suggestion laced with unspoken intentions that hung between us like an electric current waiting to spark into something more profound yet frighteningly uncertain. As we walked back hand in hand through narrow streets lined with quaint shops selling handmade crafts and artisanal goods, doubts crept back into my mind like shadows chasing daylight away. I couldn't help but wonder how long this feeling would last once he returned home, or worse yet, if he took that job offer elsewhere. "I don't want this to end," I admitted suddenly as we reached our destination, a cozy little inn tucked away from prying eyes where moments had unfolded beyond anything expected or imagined until now. He turned toward me sharply. Surprise flickered across his face before settling into something softer, a mixture of understanding tinged with sadness mirrored back at me through those deep-set eyes. "We have time," he replied gently but firmly enough for me to sense its weight behind those simple words. They were both reassuring yet hauntingly ephemeral all at once, the clock ticking down toward an inevitable conclusion neither one wanted yet couldn't escape either. Later that evening, after spending hours discussing dreams intertwined amidst laughter echoing through walls adorned with memories made only hours prior, I found myself staring out at dusk settling gently over town while contemplating choices laid bare ahead. Choices rooted deeply within love lost somewhere along years spent navigating life alongside someone who no longer knew who they were or what they wanted anymore. The sun dipped below horizon, framing thoughts swirling around unanswered questions begging resolution, while uncertainty loomed large over every decision left unmade, threatening consequences far beyond mere fleeting moments spent lost inside someone else's embrace. What would happen next? Would freedom come at too high a cost? And just then, the phone buzzed unexpectedly against wooden surface nearby, breaking silence surrounding us both. It was him, my husband, calling after sensing perhaps something amiss. With trembling hands gripping tightly onto device, I hesitated before answering, knowing full well whatever awaited on other end could shatter everything built upon fragile foundations already teetering precariously close toward collapse. I took a deep breath, steadying my heart as I answered the call. "Hello?" My voice sounded shaky, even to my own ears. "Hey, it's me," my husband's voice came through the line, laced with concern. "Are you okay? You've been a bit distant lately." His words felt like a weight pressing down on me. I glanced at the clock, knowing I had little time before the boss would arrive to pick me up for our planned outing. "I'm fine, just busy with things," I replied, trying to sound casual. "Things? What kind of things?" he pressed, his tone shifting from concern to suspicion. "Just work stuff," I lied, feeling the tension in my chest tighten further. The truth was too complex to explain over the phone. I could sense he wasn't convinced but chose not to push further. "I'll be home early tonight," he said finally. "Let's talk then." "Sure," I replied, my stomach churning at the thought of that conversation. As soon as I hung up, I felt a rush of anxiety wash over me. The implications of my secret weighed heavily on my shoulders. The affair had opened up a part of me that had long been dormant, a part that craved excitement and connection beyond what my marriage offered. Minutes later, a knock at the door startled me from my thoughts. It was him, my husband's boss, standing there with that familiar warm smile that made my heart race despite everything else swirling in my mind. "Ready for our little adventure?" he asked cheerfully. I nodded slowly and stepped outside, trying to mask the turmoil inside with a semblance of normalcy. The sun shone brightly overhead as we walked toward his car parked nearby. The drive was filled with light chatter about mundane topics, work projects and local events, but beneath it all was an undercurrent of something deeper. Every glance exchanged felt charged with unspoken words and shared moments we both understood but dared not articulate aloud. Arriving at the farmer's market brought a breath of fresh air into our interaction. The vibrant colors and lively atmosphere distracted me momentarily from the chaos brewing within. We strolled through aisles lined with fresh produce and handmade crafts, laughing over silly anecdotes while pretending everything was perfectly fine. As we approached a vendor selling flowers, he suddenly stopped and picked up a small bouquet of wildflowers, holding them out to me. "These reminded me of you," he said softly. A flutter raced through me at his words. They held more weight than mere flattery. "Thank you," I managed to say, accepting the flowers with trembling hands. We continued wandering through the market until we found ourselves near a quiet corner where fewer people lingered. The laughter faded as we stood facing each other amidst vibrant blooms and fragrant herbs. "I've been thinking," he began hesitantly before trailing off as if searching for just the right words. "What is it?" I prompted gently. He took a deep breath, his gaze locking onto mine with intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "About this of us." My heart raced at his admission, every fiber in my being wanted him to continue, but fear gripped me tightly too. Before he could elaborate further, we heard laughter nearby, a couple enjoying their day together without a care in the world, and reality crashed back down around us like cold water splashing against skin. "We should get going," I said abruptly, breaking eye contact and turning away from him in an effort to regain composure. "Right," he replied quietly but didn't move immediately, as if still caught in whatever moment had just passed between us. The drive back felt different, charged with unspoken tension lingering heavily in the air like storm clouds ready to burst open at any moment. Once home again, reality settled back in place like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. Thoughts of my husband awaited along with that impending conversation looming closer by each passing minute. As soon as we stepped inside together, I felt an overwhelming urge to flee from both men present in my life. The one who had loved me for years yet remained oblivious, and another who stirred feelings within me that were both exhilarating and terrifying all at once. I should get started on dinner, I mumbled awkwardly after stepping into our living room where familiar surroundings suddenly seemed foreign under scrutiny of conflicting emotions swirling within me like leaves caught in autumn winds outside our window. "Let me help," he offered quickly before disappearing into the kitchen without waiting for permission or invitation. A gesture meant well yet only added weight onto already strained atmosphere surrounding us both, now filled only by silence punctuated by clattering pots and pans echoing throughout space between us, two souls drifting apart slowly but surely while one remained unaware entirely. As evening approached closer still without resolution found anywhere near sight, it dawned upon me how much time slipped away unnoticed until now, leaving behind remnants scattered across paths taken yet never fully embraced nor appreciated enough before choices made led toward this very moment, standing here now alone amidst shadows cast against walls around us both. The phone rang again, breaking through thick silence enveloping everything around, suddenly jolting focus back toward reality, waiting patiently beyond walls built around hearts left vulnerable, exposed, raw, open, yearning, desperately seeking answers lost somewhere deep within, tangled webs spun throughout lives lived thus far. I glanced down, seeing name flashing across screen. My husband again calling back after sensing perhaps something amiss, still lingering close enough just beneath surface, barely hidden beneath layers worn thin by years spent together navigating life's complexities, shaped through shared experiences crafted lovingly over time, spent hand in hand, walking paths chosen together side by side, never once imagining how far apart we'd drifted since then. With every pulse pounding loudly, echoing within chest, threatening suffocation if ignored any longer, I knew this call held answers needed desperately yet feared most deeply too. The phone rang again, the sound cutting through the silence of the house. My heart raced as I finally picked it up, my mind racing with possible conversations. "Hello?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, it's me," my husband's voice came through, warm and familiar yet tinged with concern. "I've been thinking about us." His words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to mask the anxiety creeping in. "I just feel like there's something off lately." "We haven't been ourselves," he admitted. "I think we should talk, maybe even see someone about it." A lump formed in my throat. The irony of him wanting to seek help after all this time struck me hard. Did he really not see how far apart we had grown? Or was he simply unaware of my inner turmoil? "I agree," I replied cautiously, feeling the weight of my secret pressing down on me. As we discussed potential counselors and tried to navigate this unfamiliar territory together, a part of me felt relieved that he was willing to address our issues. But another part, a deeper part, was terrified. How could I possibly confess to him everything that had transpired during our vacation? How could I explain the connection I had with his boss without shattering what little stability remained in our marriage? After hanging up, I stared at the wall blankly for several minutes, lost in thought. The memories of those stolen moments with his boss flooded back, laughter at the market, hushed conversations under the stars, and that fleeting kiss that had ignited something within me, something I thought was long extinguished. Then came another call. A text notification from an unknown number lit up my screen. My heart sank as I read the message, "We need to talk before I leave." It was from him, the boss. Panic surged through me at the thought of him leaving town sooner than expected without any closure between us. The urgency of his words gripped me tightly. I couldn't let this opportunity slip away. After all we'd shared, how could I simply move on? Yet, how could I face him when everything felt so complicated? I quickly typed back a response, "When?" Moments later came his reply, "Tonight? 8 p.m. at Sunset Park." The decision weighed heavily on my chest as evening approached. Could a conversation with him bring clarity or only further confusion? What if he revealed more about his plans? Would it tear open wounds that were just beginning to scab over? As twilight fell and shadows stretched across the park's grassy expanse, I arrived early and found a secluded bench overlooking the river. The vibrant hues of sunset painted the sky, a stark contrast to my internal turmoil. He arrived shortly after, looking both familiar and foreign all at once. His eyes searched mine as he sat down beside me. There was an intensity in his gaze that sent shivers down my spine. "I'm glad you came," he said softly. "I had to," I replied quietly, unsure how much more honesty I could muster tonight. "I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye properly," he continued, his voice laced with regret. "This job offer, it's too good to pass up." "Are you sure you want to go?" The question slipped out before I could stop myself. He sighed deeply and ran a hand through his hair, an action that seemed so innocent yet carried so much weight between us now. "I have to think about my future too." The air thickened with unspoken words as we sat in silence for a moment. Each second felt like an eternity stretching between us, filled with memories both sweet and bitter. "Do you think we made a mistake?" he finally asked, breaking the stillness. "Maybe." The truth felt heavy on my tongue as it escaped into the cool evening air. But it also made me realize things about myself, about what I've been missing. His brow furrowed slightly as he processed my words. "You deserve happiness," he said earnestly, leaning closer as if sharing a secret meant only for me. Before long, we found ourselves caught in another moment, a moment where vulnerability danced dangerously close to desire again. Just as our lips met again for what might be one last time under this fading sky filled with hues of orange and pink, the sound of an approaching car echoed nearby, breaking our fragile bubble. We pulled away abruptly. Reality crashed back into focus around us like cold water splashing against skin after being submerged too long underwater. "What was that?" My voice wavered slightly as uncertainty crept back in. He glanced toward where headlights illuminated trees lining the park entrance before returning his gaze back towards me, his expression shifting from longing to concern almost instantly. "It might be nothing," he said cautiously, but didn't sound convinced himself either. But then we heard footsteps crunching against gravel approaching rapidly. It wasn't just anyone, it was someone familiar, and unexpected too. My heart dropped into my stomach when recognition hit. I turned slowly, only for dread pooling within realizing who stood there watching us closely from afar: my husband. His expression mirrored shock mixed with confusion etched across features once so familiar, now twisted by betrayal, lingering thickly between us, all three standing frozen beneath twilight's fading glow, surrounded by echoes left unspoken, holding tightly onto what remained unsaid but felt so deeply raw at this moment. And just like that, the world around us shifted once more. Nothing would ever be quite the same again. The air was thick with unspoken words as we stood there, the weight of our choices pressing down on us. I searched his eyes, hoping to find some clarity, but all I saw was a reflection of my own turmoil. The vibrant colors of the sunset faded into shadows, mirroring the uncertainty looming over us. "I wish we had more time," he finally said, breaking the silence that enveloped us. His voice was low, tinged with a sadness that resonated deeply within me. The reality of his departure loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to wash away everything I had come to know in this brief yet intense connection. "Me too," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. My heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. Would I be able to move forward without him? Would he become just another fleeting memory in my life? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box wrapped in simple brown paper. "I wanted you to have this," he said, extending it toward me. My fingers trembled as I took it from him, unsure of what to expect. "What is it?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "Open it when you're alone," he instructed softly, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my breath hitch. "Just know that it's a reminder of everything we shared." As I held the box tightly in my hands, emotions surged within me, gratitude for our moments together and sorrow for what was slipping away. His gaze lingered on me for a moment longer before he stepped back, creating an invisible distance that felt insurmountable. I should go, he said reluctantly, glancing toward the road that would lead him away from this place, and from me. Wait, I called out before I could stop myself. Can't we just talk for a bit longer? He hesitated but then nodded slowly. We found ourselves wandering along the path by the riverbank, where we had shared so many intimate conversations. The water glistened under the fading light, and for a moment, time felt suspended. I never expected this connection, he confessed as we walked side by side. You've changed how I see things. Changed how? My heart raced at his words. Before you came into my life, everything felt routine. He paused and looked out over the water. You made me feel alive again. His admission struck a chord deep inside me. In those moments spent together, filled with laughter and vulnerability, I had forgotten about the emptiness that had settled in my marriage long ago. What about your job offer? I asked hesitantly. Are you really leaving? He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I thought it was what I wanted, more responsibility and more money, but now it feels different. The truth hung between us like an unasked question. What if neither of us wanted to let go? But reality loomed large. Our lives were tangled in obligations and expectations that couldn't simply be unraveled. I don't want to hold you back, I murmured softly as we continued walking. He turned to face me fully now, his expression serious yet tender. You're not holding me back, you're pushing me toward something better. A lump formed in my throat as emotions swirled within me like leaves caught in an autumn breeze. Perhaps this connection wasn't just about passion, perhaps it was about awakening parts of ourselves long buried beneath layers of routine and conformity. But then reality crashed down again as memories of my husband flooded back, the good times overshadowed by years of emotional distance and unfulfilled dreams. How could I reconcile these feelings? How could I choose between two vastly different worlds? Promise me something, he said suddenly, breaking through my thoughts. What? If things ever change for you, if you find yourself wanting more than what's comfortable, promise me you'll chase after it. His eyes bore into mine with an earnestness that sent shivers down my spine. I promise, I whispered back without thinking fully about what that promise entailed or how difficult it might be to keep. We stood there for what felt like an eternity, two souls bound by circumstance yet yearning for freedom from their respective cages. But eventually, we both knew time was slipping away from us like sand through fingers. I should really go now, he said reluctantly once more. Yes, yes. The acknowledgement felt heavy on my tongue as if saying goodbye would solidify all that had transpired between us, a finality neither of us truly wanted but both understood must happen. As he turned to leave, something inside urged me forward, an instinctive need to hold on to this fleeting moment just a little longer before letting go completely. Wait. My voice rang out again before doubt could silence it entirely. He paused mid-step but didn't turn around immediately. Instead, he seemed lost in thought, a man torn between two paths stretching out before him yet unable to grasp either fully without consequence. I closed the distance between us quickly until only inches separated our bodies once more, the air crackling with tension amid unspoken longing lingering beneath every breath exchanged between us now charged with urgency unlike anything else experienced thus far together. And then, without thinking, I reached up on tiptoe and pressed my lips against his softly yet fervently as if sealing some ancient pact forged through shared experiences transcending words alone. Our lips met briefly but powerfully enough to ignite every emotion bottled up inside each other's hearts until finally breaking apart, gasping slightly at what just happened, the finality hanging heavy upon both our shoulders now threatening everything previously known. He stepped back first this time, a look of surprise mingled with understanding etched across features once so familiar yet now tinged by uncertainty surrounding everything left unsaid lingering heavily around us still. I'll always remember this, He murmured quietly before turning away, completely leaving behind only echoes reverberating within empty spaces left behind where warmth once thrived. As twilight deepened into nightfall around me, enveloping everything within shadows cast long by fading light, I clutched the small box tightly against my chest, feeling lost amidst swirling thoughts racing through mind alongside uncertainty looming larger than life itself ahead. Tomorrow would dawn anew, but without him here beside me, it felt like stepping into unknown territory filled only with questions unanswered, lingering heavily around every corner, waiting patiently for resolution, desperately sought after yet seemingly elusive still. The sun rose slowly, casting a soft glow across the kitchen as I prepared breakfast. The familiar sounds of the small town outside filtered in through the open window. Birds chirped, and the distant hum of the farmer's market began to stir to life. Yet, despite the warmth of the morning, a chill settled in my chest. I glanced at the small box resting on the table, a farewell gift he had given me. It felt heavy with meaning, a token of a connection that had shifted something deep within me. I opened it once more, revealing a delicate bracelet that shimmered in the light. Each bead seemed to hold memories of laughter and late-night conversations, moments that felt like fragments of another life. The thought of him leaving weighed heavily on my mind. I had spent countless hours contemplating what his absence would mean for me and my marriage. Would I return to my old self? Or had this experience irrevocably changed me? I heard the front door creak open as my husband entered with a newspaper tucked under his arm. He greeted me with a smile, but there was an underlying tension in his voice. "Morning. Any plans for today?" "Just thinking about heading to the market," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. The farmer's market had become my refuge, a place where I could lose myself among vibrant colors and fresh produce while grappling with my thoughts. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his eyes brightening at the idea. I hesitated for a moment. Part of me longed for solitude amidst my swirling emotions. But another part craved normalcy, even if it felt foreign now. "Sure," I said finally. As we walked through our quaint town toward the market, I noticed how much everything felt different. The air was charged with unspoken words between us. He chatted about mundane topics, local sports teams and upcoming events, while I nodded along absent-mindedly. Arriving at the market, vibrant stalls greeted us with an array of fresh fruits and vegetables, colors dancing before my eyes like memories waiting to be acknowledged. My heart raced as I spotted familiar faces among vendors and shoppers alike. While browsing through ripe tomatoes and fragrant herbs, I caught sight of someone in the distance, an all too familiar figure that sent shivers down my spine. My husband's boss stood near a stall selling artisanal cheeses. The sight brought back memories of our brief encounters, the laughter shared over coffee and those stolen moments that felt so alive yet so wrong. "Do you see someone you know?" My husband's voice broke through my thoughts. I turned quickly back to him, forcing a smile. "No one special." We continued wandering through stalls filled with colorful produce and handmade goods, but my mind drifted back to him, the way he understood me in ways no one else did. A sudden longing surged within me. It was as if every choice I'd made had led me to this moment, standing here alongside my husband while feeling so profoundly disconnected from him. Suddenly, we bumped into one of our neighbors who began chatting animatedly about local gossip, something trivial but grounding amidst all this chaos swirling inside me. As she spoke about upcoming town events and community gatherings, I caught another glimpse of him across the way, his laughter ringing out like music against all other sounds around us. For just an instant, our eyes locked from across the market. It was electric, a moment suspended in time that seemed to stretch on forever before reality crashed back down upon me. "Earth to Lisa." My husband waved his hand in front of my face playfully after noticing I'd zoned out again. "Oh. Sorry," I stammered awkwardly as warmth flooded into my cheeks from embarrassment. He chuckled softly but then grew serious again after glancing around at our surroundings filled with life around us yet feeling so empty inside himself too. an unspoken understanding hanging between us like fog over water. "Are you okay?" His concern was palpable now. He paused before continuing cautiously. "You've seemed distracted lately." "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, my instinctive response when faced with questions about feelings or emotions left unaddressed for far too long. He looked unconvinced but let it go for now as we resumed our shopping routine, picking out fresh bread here or sampling cheese there while exchanging polite pleasantries without really connecting deeply any more than surface-level interactions allowed us both these days. After gathering enough items for dinner later that evening, a simple meal filled mostly with vegetables, I suggested we grab some coffee at our favorite cafe nearby before heading home. Anything to stall returning back into reality where everything felt heavier than before. As we approached the cafe's entrance though, I stopped dead in my tracks when spotting him seated inside by himself looking contemplative while sipping on what appeared to be espresso alone at one corner table. Panic surged within me. I couldn't face him here, not like this, not when everything still hung unresolved between us. But then something unexpected happened. He looked up suddenly, catching sight of me standing frozen outside, and smiled warmly as if nothing had changed despite all that transpired just days ago. My breath caught in my throat, my heart raced wildly at this unexpected encounter amidst daily lives intersecting once more like threads woven together, yet frayed edges remained evident where connections strained under pressure. "Lisa," he called out cheerfully, waving slightly before motioning toward an empty seat beside him invitingly, even though every instinct screamed against approaching any closer. I glanced nervously back toward my husband, who remained oblivious, lost amidst scrolling through his phone instead, and suddenly found myself making an impulsive decision against better judgment, taking steps forward toward destiny waiting patiently just beyond reach. My heart hammered loudly against ribcage, echoing thoughts racing ahead, filled only uncertainty lingering heavily beyond each tentative step taken forward toward something unknown yet undeniably magnetic, drawing ever closer still. "What brings you here?" he asked casually upon seeing me approach, though intense gaze held deeper meaning behind those words, sparking fire, igniting within soul-stirring emotions long buried beneath layers built up over years gone by. "I just thought some coffee would help clear things up," I replied hesitantly, trying not show how frazzled nerves truly were beneath surface calm facade put forth bravely even when uncertain how much longer could maintain such pretense anymore without unraveling completely exposed raw vulnerability laid bare. His expression softened, visibly sensing underlying tension beneath surface interactions shared, drawing nearer until mere inches stood between us now. The air thickened, charged, electric, pulsing, alive, resonating deeply, shared connection igniting flames long dormant, waiting patiently reignite once more. But before anything could unfold further, my phone buzzed urgently, pulling attention away, abruptly breaking spell cast upon moment shared together, resonating deeply within hearts yearning find solace amidst chaos surrounding lives lived apart yet intertwined irrevocably still somehow despite circumstances pulling apart, threads woven tightly together once upon time lost somewhere along journey taken. With trembling hands, I glanced down, realizing notification came from husband's number instead, sending chills racing spine, reminding reality present looming ominously overhead, demanding attention, pulled away swiftly, leaving lingering questions unanswered, still hanging heavily unaddressed between all parties involved here today, none knowing what tomorrow may bring ahead or whether paths crossed again ever after this fateful encounter transpired here today amongst bustling crowds, unaware fate played hidden cards behind closed doors, waiting patiently reveal truths hidden beneath layers previously kept secret, safely tucked away until now finally exposed, raw vulnerability laid bare, awaiting next chapter unfold beyond horizon, beckoning forth. New beginnings emerging brightly ahead.